Hello, good evening and welcome to PM Express. This evening on the show, we have a two-part program. We are talking about the President's response to the NPP's petition on the presidential election. And we'll also discuss the seemingly unsurmountable problem of hawking in the capital city. My name is Stephen Enti. Now, hawkers in the Central Business District had till close of day today, on Monday, to leave the streets. This directive was issued by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, AMA, on Sunday and is aimed at decongesting the capital. This won't be the first time, though, that the AMA has attempted clearing hawkers off the streets. Past attempts of getting rid of hawkers have been largely stillborn, with recalcitrant street vendors returning to the streets almost in synchrony with the clearance efforts. Meanwhile, the analysts criticize the Assembly of too much rhetoric, really, inefficiency and inconsistency when it comes to the menace of hawking. Tonight on PM Express, we'll dissect the issues. With me in the studios is the Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency, Kofi Kapito, and then the Public Relations Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Numo Blafo, will later be joined by phone by a city planner. He is the president of the Ghana Institute of Planners, Frank Taki, to critically look at our structural issues and a long-term plan for street hawkers. But before we delve into that discussion, however, let's take a look at a story that was filed today by Ibano Lante on the hawking situation in Accra.
We first hit the streets of Tama Station, where it is usually very choked, with both hawkers and pedestrians struggling for space to either display their wares or find a walkway to their destinations. This is how it looks like today. It seems there is an easy movement of pedestrians to and from the market. The hawkers are nowhere to be found. The mayor of Accra explains why.
If the traders are here and the pedestrians are here, it becomes competition to the small space. So it becomes, and look at the volume of traffic. Look at the traffic. Look at the traffic coming from there. Look at the traffic coming from here, and look over there, the traffic. So it becomes a competition with the use of the space, small space. And so we do compromise the safety of the people. And so when we say that traders should not come on the road, it is because we do not want to compromise the lives of our people.
The story was no different from Makola, where vehicles, pedestrians and hawkers struggle for space. Now, the pavements are clear, with vehicles moving freely without any hindrance from the pedestrians and hawkers. Shops on that stretch of road, which are usually blocked by hawkers, now have easy access to their entrance. Shop owners are now happy. Customers will now have easy access to their shops.
What the AMA has done is good, because the people passing by will have the chance to know what is going on, and also to see the type of things that we sell.
I tried to engage this hawker on the directive, and this is what transpired.
So you talk about ya Ghana for ya na ejire mo ya ndi so NPP o CPP to abede mo mo nti da ama askasa ba kwa ma abaya kan say ya to abema ma awie na mo gire so ya ka pilot tam na betwem koye no dem NPP baye no ya nya kasa mo baye mo ma baye 1 year be 3 months 4 months be ya to abema blahwe enye 1 month cry.
For some pedestrians, it couldn't have come at an opportune time.
We are happy because all here is free. If you are walking, you can have fresh air. It's good.
It's now okay. This place is free now. You can walk, you can shop, you can do everything. So I think it's good.
The sustenance of this initiative by the AMA has been a source of worry for many, because it is always abandoned whenever it is close to an election year, perhaps to score political points. But the mayor thinks otherwise.
I have no problem with anybody who wants to put a political spin on this. But you know, the month of December was also the month of Christmas and the holidays and the, the election activities. Now I'm saying that all those events are over. So we are taking back the city and make sure that we return the city to law and order. That is what it has always been, and that is what it will be. Now, the argument whether it was political or what, I mean, I don't think it's here or there.
The overhead bridges at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle and Kaneshie, which are usually encroached on by beggars and hawkers, were clear. The Kaneshie overhead footbridge appeared to be weak, and from information I gathered, the footbridge might be closed to pedestrians for repairs. The AMA boss says this is as a result of the encroachment by hawkers.
Anybody that we find on this bridge selling, we will prosecute them. We have told them to stop. They need to stop. This is a national asset they are damaging. And we will not sit down and allow traders to destroy the bridge.
What was surprising though was the calmness of the hawkers affected by the exercise. They usually protest against directives of such nature by the assembly. But this time round, they complied with calmness. Does this mean the directive of the AMA is going down well with the hawkers? Well, time will tell. Emmanuel Ante, Joy News, Accra.
Well, time indeed will tell. My name is Stephen Ante. I'm here in the studio with Numo Blafo, who is the PRO for the Accra Metro Assembly, and Kofi Kapito is the CEO of Consumer Protection Agency. Gentlemen, it's great to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, Numo. This is not the first time I've seen Mr. Alfred van der Poy start clearing the streets of hawkers and all. I mean, he did this when he was appointed into office in 2009, and I can't even count how many times he has come on to say there is a deadline, there is an ultimatum. What makes this one different from the previous ones he has failed to enforce?
Well, I think there is a point of correction. It is the AMA that undertakes these activities. And
Not an individual. Okay.
And also, this directive did not come just this Sunday, but we started making the announcement since on the 6th of January. That's about 2 weeks ago. So I think that is what has also resulted in the calmness of the hawkers.
So what you're saying, that the directive was made 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. We started
hawkers have had a lot of time to comply.
Yes. Since on the 6th when we returned from the holidays. Now, this issue, people have been asking what will be different this time, what will be different this time. You see, I don't think there will be anything different. The issue is about us complying with the laws of the land. Actually, we should be mindful of the activities of these hawkers or traders on our pavements and the streets. That's one, they are infringing on the rights of movement of other individuals, and it is their constitutional right. Nobody should, face any hindrance in movement. Everybody has the freedom of movement. And this is what those hawkers or traders on the pavement are doing. They are infringing on the rights of other pedestrians. And also, they are infringing on the AMA Street Hawking Bylaw of 2011. Now, you look at those who sell in the middle of the road. Actually, they are also infringing on the Road Traffic Amendment Act 2008, Section 29(2), and also the AMA Street Hawking Bylaws 2011. So, if you look at all this, or you put all this together, you see that these people are infringing on the Constitution or the constitutional rights of others.
I beg to differ, but these laws you're just telling us about have been in existence.
That is why I'm telling. That is you asked for a difference.
Has not been able to enforce.
You asked for
clearing
a difference.
The streets at all.
No, you asked for a difference, and I am telling you what the difference is going to be, because one, maybe we've not been allowing the law to bite as it should.
So now the law is going to
time,
bite.
We'll make sure that
now you're going to go to court.
Of course, yes. We've been going to court before, but not on the level that this time we're going to take, and we're going to publicize it. Those who are supposed to do community labor will do it in the full glare of the public, and it will be publicized for people to know that actually the AMA is really working.
Right, Mr. Capito, I'm sure you've heard these directives several times over, and my concern really is, should the Accra mayor always go out there, for example, to enforce the clearing of the streets of hawkers?
Well, like Numo said, he is not the mayor, it's the Metropolitan Assembly, which is the AMA.
Sure.
The issue that I would ask is, who caused them? It's not that we don't know that their laws are there.
Yeah.
In any society, if you have laws and the laws are just on the books and the laws are not enforced, nobody, not even in heaven, that people will comply if enforcement is not added to it. What we lack in Accra, and what people should understand is the Accra Metropolitan Assembly is the government of Accra Metropolitan.
Yeah.
So everything falls under AMA, including the clearance of the sidewalks for pedestrians to access it, free movement of people, both traffic and vehicle. But what do we see? Okay, and I always say this, and people say, why do you? Because when I was first brought from Kumasi, my family resided in Okanshi. Okanshi, the main area, Mokola area, it was different. But now, let's say 40...
What was different then?
There was law and order. Even though we still had street hawkers. Okay, somebody would say maybe the breakdown of Mokola market, one of the Mokola markets, which may be, I'm not against it being turned into a car park, but even look at the car park. It's one of the most ridiculous car parks that I have seen. You don't create a car park like that. It's been how many years? And nobody has the foresight even to say, fine, we can create a car park and a pedestrian wall at the same time. That space is
You're talking about
area.
the car park which is opposite the Ghana law school.
Yes. Okay. What are we doing? Don't we have planners? We should have planners. We have the same things that anybody who, whether in South Africa, whether in I'm not going to compare Ghana to Nigeria or compare it to Liberia, because I want to be better than Nigeria. This thing that people will say, oh, but what about? No. I want Ghana to be like where I want to be when I want to go someplace. Okay, the question is, what are we doing as society? Yes, the mayor is in charge. So like they say, the buck stops with the mayor.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that today what I saw, I was very, very impressed. Because I drove by the various areas and the streets looked very, very free. The question is, how long will they last? I hope and pray that Numo and his team can make this thing work so that I will come back and say, kudos to Numo and his team.
But really, my question, Capito, is that you representing consumers and the protection of their rights, you also bear with us that sometimes you need to grab certain things, and your best bet is grab them in the streets. What about those who patronize the wares of these hawkers who pour into the streets?
In commerce, there's something called convenience. That's why when you go outside, you have drive-through windows. You go to McDonald's, you don't even go through the door anymore. You go through the window because you are in a hurry. The question is, if the law says you cannot be on the sidewalk, I agree with the AMA. Unless the AMA says we're going to create an avenue whereby, let's say, like they do outside, the Sunday markets, that we can allow people
but
to...
the AMA started a Sunday market, which didn't go too far. Numo Blafo, what happened to your Sunday markets?
You see, we started these Sunday markets, and the same traders said they wanted it on a Saturday. And the city authorities also saw that, no, there are organizations or corporate institutions who also operate on Saturdays. And therefore, if we're going to close some of these streets for just trading, it will cause a lot of inconveniences for these corporate institutions. So therefore, we have to remain on the Sunday. If not, then we restrict ourselves to the street markets that we've already designated. That is the Okanshi area. So that's how the
that's how it happened. So yeah. Capito, I mean, we were trying to look into the real solutions, not just rhetoric, and the AMA boss or whoever is leading the team will turn up in the marketplaces with cameramen and show to the rest of the country that they're working. What really should be the pragmatic solution to this hawking situation on the streets of the central business district? And don't forget, not only in Accra, in several other places in the country.
Because we as society or institutions that are mandated by the people of Ghana or even the Accra metropolitan area for AMA to protect us, sometimes the institutions, sometimes you ask yourself, are they really working? Let me tell you the reason why. The problem in Accra or in Ghana, one person puts a table here. Immediately, that person should be told, you can't put the table there. We wait, it becomes 2, 10, 20, 100, and 1,000. Do you know, even by law, okay, when a person occupies a space, I've forgotten the name that they use for them, those people who will go and occupy a building for a long
Squatters.
Okay, even a squatter has a right after a certain period. We don't have to wait for them to get to that period. We need to move them immediately. You know the new overhead, that Achimota lorry station?
Yeah.
You know that footpath?
Yeah.
Go and see what is going on there.
It's turned into a mini market.
A mini market.
I live in Achimota.
That precisely. But I can bet you that government officials, maybe including not just the number one, the president at the moment, various presidents drove by that place or had family members who told them. The question is, you need to call the mayor or the local government minister and ask him. We did this beautiful footbridge. It's called footbridge. It's not called wear bridge.
Or pedestrian,
shopping bridge. But the question is, we wait. Look, I can guarantee you, like I say, I hope I grew up in Okanshi. I've seen Okanshi go to the gutters. I've seen Okanshi that used to work. I've seen Okanshi Royal Cinema, the whole area was
Metropole.
Koliwoko, that whole area.
Yeah.
The only place that was not okay was the Kole, closer to where they do the
Is it Adenko?
Akwelosuma, you know that
Okay.
where they sell.
This must have been a long time
no,
ago.
it's not
As
that long. I mean,
you're unable to
Don't let my brain
recall.
deceive you. I'm just saying that Accra used to work. Okay, even when you went to Koliwoko, where quote unquote the ladies of the night, where
When I used to have family members
they were even
live around
they
that
were even
area when I was
organized.
growing.
Timber market was organized. Every place was organized. What happened to us as a society? Yeah.
So what really happened?
Population has actually increased, but because we don't plan. We don't even foresee that if you, excuse me, have an encounter with your wife, quote unquote, in 9 months, you might get a baby. So we don't even plan to see that in 5 years, in 10 years, this is where Ghana needs to go. If you walk on the streets of Oxford Street or any advanced country in the world, by 6 o'clock in the morning, that whole area is clean. By 7 p.m., when the market is closed, another set of people come to clean so that the next morning, if you leave Oxford Street not clean for 24 hours, it will be worse than Mokola. But because of responsibilities, the person knows that after 6 p.m., when the shops are closed, I don't have any excuse to say that I am sick, it has rained, there's
Oxford Street is actually scrubbed with soap and water.
But Accra used to be.
And disinfectants.
Accra used to be. Accra used to be. What happened? I mean, it looks like the quote unquote, we claim to be more sophisticated, we claim to be more enlightened, but sometimes you feel like we are backwards.
No, it's we hear these stories every day, and I'm sure working with the AMA, whenever you hear complaints and problems being put at your doorstep, you wonder whether we all know what your responsibilities as a Metro Assembly is. Walk us through some of the challenges the AMA has had over the years in clearing the city of hawkers.
Let's look at it this way. You know, when we're saying that there should be no hawking, we don't mean that people should not hawk within the metropolis. No. We are not saying people should not hawk in our communities. No. What we are saying is that when people are standing right in the middle of the road selling, that is bad. When people are sitting on our pavements and trading, that is bad. Fine. Now, the challenges that we've been having all the while is that, look, every year after the BEC, or I would say after the LOMVAC, you see the numbers increasing. After those that I would say graduate from SHS and maybe could not continue, you see the numbers increasing. In short, during every holiday, people come in and some remain. And Accra experiences about visitors of about over 500,000 to 1 million daily. And not all of these people return back to where they are coming from. So the numbers keep increasing every day. I will say that, well, Accra has not braced itself to this kind of population explosion. And that is one biggest challenge that we're having. We are also having a challenge of indiscipline, because you get people who have, quote unquote, some people high above somewhere who they may call, and the people will call you to at least maybe leave these people, do this to these people, and all those kind of things. And it has created some kind of atmosphere that people now they do things with impunity to the extent that it becomes very difficult
for the authority, the assembly to enforce the laws.
But all the same, that notwithstanding, that doesn't mean we cannot do what we are supposed to do. But to the extent that people who, for example, try to disobey the law, because there are people who have even risen up and said, look, you said we should move, we are not moving, and when you come, we will fight you. We've experienced all those things. Once with these yam sellers around Beima area who, in short, organized and pounced on our people, started beating them. We had another incident around the airport junction, that is the airport police station area. So you see, when you come across society who are so, I don't know whether they are frustrated, so they want to rise up against authority.
But maybe it's also because you haven't used the appropriate measures in the past. I mean, in the past, you seized goods and you have kind of provided alternative markets and just shifted them there without even deliberating with them to find out what works better with them.
Well,
so
I think that
obviously, under that posturing, they would like to come back at you hard.
No, I would say that is an understatement, because when we were constructing this pedestrian shopping mall, if I tell you the number of meetings we had with traders, it will surprise you that at the end of the day, they will turn around and say they are not entering that market. We had a series of meetings with them. We asked them to even organize themselves and then register the members within each organized group and bring us those names so that they will be the first option of people whom we're going to give these stalls. And you know what happened? After they have actually submitted the names of their members in their groups, and they saw that we took them to the market sites, and they saw that really the AMA is doing something, they started inviting people from outside Accra. They should come. And now
to do what?
Because the AMA is constructing market for hawkers. You understand? To the extent that we even had to tell them that, look, nobody is going to accept any new list from them. And that is what caused all the problem.
Well, Mr. Capito, you have a comment.
He mentioned, I'm going to take on a few things in terms of the pedestrian shopping mall.
Yeah.
First, because I went to look, and there was this allegation about injustice
in the distribution, of stalls.
And some of them blamed the AMA. That's an allegation. Secondly, places of convenience for the number of people going to that place was inadequate. I've been there because my office is just around the corner. Secondly, they would paint the floor floor, open space, and tell you to pay a fee, and they will tell you, oh, but they were on the streets. So now that they've gotten this space, I mean, we are humans. We should treat them with dignity. If we want them to conform, let's give them something that they can appreciate, something that they can say, yes, it is better than what I used to have. Secondly, he said hawking is allowed. I agree with him. When I was a young kid, the Mokola women, during maybe after the rush hour, will put their ware on their street and go store to store and sell, but they will still end up in the market. They did not stay on the street and on the pavements. They will come out of the market during the day, go from the metropole, all those areas. I mean, sometimes they'll store, the women, my mothers and stuff would even have a credit so that they'll come and collect it maybe at the end of the business day or a few days later. These things is fine, but something went wrong. We did not, we don't do things properly in Ghana. That is what I have noticed. Like I said, Ghana used to work. Pedestrians, the street hawkers, has always been around.
So really, I mean, how could this problem have been done anyway?
It's lack of planning. Period.
Beyond planning. I mean, when you say planning, you mean that, I mean, when we look at the population of Accra, we should designate specific places for selling or what?
We did the Dansoma and the Mala market. Go there and see now. So that we didn't want people to come into the central district. Okay. Malata market was also another place to contain people from coming beyond. Kaneshi market. You know, we have even now Medina market. Okay, but the question is, how do we do things properly? You still have people who will travel from Adenta all the way to Okanshi. People who will come from Kasua. Meanwhile, the market in Kasua, if you see the condition of the market in Kasua, you ask yourself, it is a market. It's not. So human beings who always wants to get something more, like Oliver's Twist, would always ask for more. You know, so we need to sit down holistically and say, listen. And then he mentioned something about every school, at the end of the school, whatever, people come and they stay. How can we have a country? When I was growing up, Form 5, if I didn't, the equivalent of JSS.
SS3.
No.
SS3.
No, JSS.
JSS3.
If I didn't pass my my O level, I'll have the Second World War. Now, if you fail JSS, there's no option for you even to have a second chance to go back and resit there to retake the exams. How do you expect those children to fare? They will end up on the streets because they don't have any option. They don't have any opportunity. Like I said, we as a country, we don't plan. A few people think they've made it. A few people think they can make it. So that is the way it is. But if you look at the other, quote unquote, we call them the developed countries. How did they do it? As you and I speak, when I left Washington, D.C. 6 years ago, now, if I go to a store, because they want to discourage people from using plastic bags, if I want a plastic bag, which used to be free, I have to pay for it. In the stores in Washington, D.C. Okay, so they plan to actually augment issues that confronts them. We just throw our hands up in the air and say,
No more.
Yeah.
I'm sure you agree with Mr. Capito that we need to plan everything. What are AMA's plans? Let's quickly wrap this up. AMA's plans through this year to the next year, at least for the rest of this year. What are we likely to see?
You know, since last year, we've been looking at the state of our markets within the metropolis. We've been looking at developing some of them, at least. We've identified the Salaga market. We've identified the Malata market, the Nima market for redevelopment. And also, we are looking at the redevelopment of the Rollins Park, as you mentioned, and to maybe put up some high-rising structures there that will house car park and then other shopping
malls as well,
other office spaces and all that. So these are issues that we have even already issued expression of tender on them. And actually, we are expecting the designs from those who have been selected to undertake this.
Capito, this should come to you as good news, right?
You know what is interesting is, like, and I'm not against the fact that maybe they've actually gone to the open tender and stuff, but in other jurisdictions, because of the need for they will even call a developer and say, you know what, you bring in the money, we give the land for you for free, so that first of all he will build, he will create employment, and then we will have businesses there. Here, I can guarantee you, because I tried to get this thing a while ago. It's politically connected. It doesn't make sense. We don't do things as a nation, period. Why can't we do things like somebody is doing it, and then we go and then we admire? We are happy to travel outside Ghana. We are going to go to South Africa next week. Ask people who will come back. Oh, South Africa is a beautiful place. Why can't Ghana and Accra be as equally as beautiful and even better than South Africa?
Nimo, you were talking about the complex which you're building. Which others are in the pipeline? Quickly, so that we'll wrap.
I would say we are also looking at the community center, that is the Accra Community Center, which is also going to be redeveloped. That will also lead to the beachfront development project that we are actually envisaging.
What about the structure across Novotel? What structure is that?
That structure that you've been saying, you are saying there is a private concern, but the AMA's City Hall will be constructed right behind it. Actually, it's going to be a complex
so
offices,
many apartments. You know, I mean, I know
shopping malls
parking,
and all that.
Allocation for
yes,
parking.
of course.
Well, this is a very high-end real estate.
Okay.
This is a very high-end real estate.
Real estate in the central business district.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's beautiful. I've seen the drawings.
Okay. Right. My name is Stephen Antia. I will take a short break from the discussion with Kofi Capito and Numo Blafo. And when we return, we'll discuss the President's response to the NPP's petition challenging his election as President of Ghana. Stay with us. Welcome back to PM Express, to our second segment. Now, in a 15-page response to NPP's petition challenging his election as President of Ghana in last month's election, President Mahama has indicated his intention to call 4,800 people as witnesses. The sheer volume of testimonies to be taken from these people has observers disconcerted, with questions flying around. Is this a scare tactic? Will all witnesses be called, and how much will this delay the court process? Will it delay it long enough to lose its relevance to the rule of law? Well, I posed some of these questions to Victor Adawudu, a member of the NDC legal team, when I spoke to him earlier. Let's take a watch. On Saturday, the president filed a response to the NPP petition, which is challenging the credibility of this year's elections. And there are indications that the president might call over 4,800 witnesses in this case. And the question is this really necessary? I have with me Victor Kojoga Adawudu, who is a member of the NDC legal team. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Steve, and good evening to our viewers.
4,800. I mean, it's the Daily Graphic captured it clearly that the president's response suggests that he's going to call 4,800 witnesses legally. I mean, what is the plausibility of this?
Well, I think that the lawyers for the president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in their wisdom, felt that the law even allows, or the law tells them that the number of witnesses you want to call to give testimony in court should be stated in your answer, so that it is not when you are in court then you decide that I want to go and call another person because that person, so it becomes something of an afterthought. And one of the allegations being made in the petition is that there were irregularities at 4,709 polling stations. So by parity of reason and legally, if you want to prove your case, which the president has said that yes, he won the election fairly as declared by the Electoral Commission, and the results from the polling station right to the Electoral Commission was declared in open. So in their view, they think that the number of polling stations that where they had representatives, they had people who were on the ground, saw it themselves, first-hand information. They appended their signature to the statement of proof, which we refer to as the blue or pink sheet, should be able to come, because the president will want to prove to the world, prove to everybody that I won this election and my election is credible, fair, transparent.
I mean, if we look at this number, I mean, by the time the court admits these into proceedings as witnesses, it might be 4 years. 4 years might be over. Do you foresee that it's going to take that much to well, maybe let me put it this way. Do you think that the president's legal team is really actually going to bring 4,800 witnesses to court?
Let me quickly say that the law allows you to call witnesses. And the law also allows that what they say should be relevant. There should not be delay. If it is irrelevant, it can be expunged out. And the law, so there are laws by which allows you to come. But I'm sure in the wisdom of the lawyers for the president, they are determined and know that what rules guide giving evidence in court. If they deem it necessary and fit that this is how we want to go, we want to prepare our case, because your case, the way you put your brief before the court, that is how the decision is based on. So you just don't come and say that, oh, I had some witnesses I wanted to call. They will look through. As the case progresses, they will know the number of people to go. But, Stephen, one thing we should not forget is that we should not sacrifice due process. The truth.
For expedience.
For expedience, because we want to finish. Then the due process will not go through, because this is going to be a landmark case in our constitutional history or electoral laws. So if the parameters, everything is set down, I believe our children, our children's children will go to constitutional rule. And when they go through, you will see that the law has been expanded, and it will not come again when they will have to reverse or reinvent the wheel. So I think time will go. It's said that the wheels of justice grind slowly, but it grinds better. So if we have this number of people that have to be called, let's allow the system. It's just that because of that, the speedy trial, the weekends, the Chief Justice and other people will decide. It's for the laws to decide that we don't think the relevance of what they are giving is relevant. They have the power to exclude some of the witnesses.
So as far as you know, they're staying within the limits of the law by calling as many witnesses as possible.
Yeah, because you see, if you look at this whole process, this process is going to be more of documentary evidence.
But you don't see this as delay tactics on the part of the president's legal team to roping this much witnesses?
Document speaks for itself. If you look at the whole election, it's about records. It's about things that are being put there. They are saying that the figures captured on the statement of pool, some are more than, some should not be. So it's more of the evidence, the document that will be presented. Right. So if those are what has to be presented, and by their reasoning, by the petition that they have brought, then that means they will have to bring the 4,709 polling stations, because they said those are irregularities. Why is people not complaining about the 4,709 polling stations?
You don't think that will also bring about undue delay? I mean, hearing all 4,000. I mean, I know you made mention of the fact,
so they will have to bring all those. Those will have to be tallied and put together. So the people who were there, that's what, in the wisdom of the lawyers, they are saying that they want to call.
They're all witnesses. Let me read a portion of the response. It says that on Saturday they filed a response, and it says, he said it shall require from the petitioners particulars of the polling stations, constituencies and regions where pink sheets from different polling stations allegedly had the same serial numbers and the votes allegedly affected in each case. It went on to say the petitioners' allegations are brazen attempts to find excuses for losing the 2012 presidential elections. I'll stop there, but the reason I asked this is that do you see the president's strategy in this statement, saying that all the allegations are brazen attempts to find excuses for losing? Or this will not be for you to say?
I don't think. I think the Supreme Court, the CI 74, which is the procedural law, which tells you how you approach or you come to the Supreme Court, also talks about the number or the better, further and better particular. When we say further and better, it is the details of the evidence that you have that you can apply after you file this 15 days, within 15 days, you can apply to court and say that the number of polling stations they are talking about, because it's the same pink sheet that had been given to all the parties. So I want to see those pink sheets, which polling stations, which constituencies did this happen, in which regions. So they will ask all this. The law allows.
So you think this is going to be the president's, the strategy of the legal team?
No. That's what the law says. Because they don't want, when it comes to hearing, you would say that I didn't get all these documents. They did not bring this document, so you are springing a surprise on me. So they will ask for all the documents. You will analyze all documents. The other parties, everybody analyzes all the documents. So when the hearing starts, it flows. Not that when one document is being tendered or given to the court for them to see, the other party or the lawyers will say, no, we don't accept this document because you just brought it. We have to look at it. So it's a way to shorten. So the president has given an indication that it will ask the petitioners to bring those from the polling station. So it's going to be, if you are saying overvoting, which people went over, which people did the overvoting, number of people, and which people went or voted without going through the verification, because they will indicate it in the register. So that is what the indication the lawyers for the president has made, that they will ask for those. And they also, the petitioners can also ask the respondents.
We don't have a lot of time. And quickly, I mean, I need you to tell me, you, a member of the NDC legal team, how do you foresee the outcome of this legal case and possibly its effect on our democratic structures from now on?
Oh, I believe that this is a case that has given us opportunity by which the Supreme Court will lay firm principles as to how do you come to court. Not that everybody, as Article 64 says, that everybody who is a citizen can come to Supreme Court. Vis-a-vis the parliamentary regime, it says that it gives you the guidelines by which you can come. So no parliamentarian can say that because I have lost, I'm coming to the High Court. No, this is an opportunity that it will give to us. It's also an opportunity that the laws on our electoral laws will be firmly consolidated, put down. So I think it's an opportunity.
Way it goes, you think
whichever way it goes,
it's going to be good for Ghana?
Oh, it would. It will strengthen our judicial system. It will repose confidence, and that would.
And would your party accept the outcome anywhere, anyhow?
Oh, why not?
Wherever it goes.
Well,
the Supreme Court rules. The Supreme Court rules in favor of the NPP.
Yeah, they are Ghanaians. They are Ghanaians. They will look through it. The lawyers will look through it, and that is when, if there is opportunity for review or what has to be done, it can be done because there are stages. But in particular, with this case, there's a provision in the CIP which says that when the judges finish and give, that is it, there's no review. I think it was on that issue that Bernard Bonner had gone to court and says that no, you can't say that something conferred on you by the Constitution, a subordinate law can come and take it away. So I know that, but I can tell you that the president is comfortable, everything is comfortable. They know what was brought as against what was said earlier on about fraud, doctrine, his figures have been padded and other things. I think it will strengthen our laws. And also Article 42, which confers on the fundamental right on citizens who have registered 18 and of sound mind to vote. So I think the laws will be consolidated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Audu.
Stephen,
for your time.
it's a pleasure.
Have a great evening. Well, welcome back. That was me interacting with Victor Kojoga Adawudu, who is a member of the NDC legal team. We discussed the president's response to NPP's petition at the Supreme Court. We're trying to reach Kisia Jabeng, who is a law lecturer from the University of Ghana, raise him on the phone so he can also give us his perspectives on those issues. But we're still trying. So let me read some of your messages that have been coming in on the discussions we've had tonight. This one from Ken in Accra says, "What is bad is bad. Why should hawkers take over walkways?" And then Kinti says that, "Let's drop this 9-day wonder. This is the umpteenth time in 8 years. What about other parts of Accra? The Tetekwashi area is growing into a market, then to a Sodom and Gomorrah." And then this one from Kempis in Dunkwa says, "The AMA is not serious and their inconsistencies is creating a mindset which is negative for change. And why would the AMA drive people off the central business district area? And when it is closer to election, they relax. How can they win this ad hoc political expedient decision?" Kempis, that's from Kempis. And Dunyo Stevens says, AMA's ultimatum to hawkers won't help that much. I think it's high time we changed our attitudes and behaviors. We only go to the rescue when situations get out of hand. Nevertheless, it's good we make our cities and towns look clean, not forgetting the villages and our homes by doing what is expected of us. And this one from Vegex Joy, you say, "I urge the AMA to undertake this exercise once and relax only for the hawkers to return to the street again before taking action. It should be a regular exercise to keep our streets free from human traffic." I guess what you're trying to say is that the AMA should not relax, should continue clearing the streets. And Togbiga Kwakuvi Wemega, that's a long name there, says, "Steve, I'm waiting for the day when we Ghanaians will be disciplined enough to follow just a simple instruction and make our country governable. And I also think the AMA guards should do away with taking money from hawkers just to allow them to misbehave on our streets. I also think our ladies of the night should also be sacked from the streets to minimize night human traffic." I reckon that you're talking about prostitutes who ply their trade in the night. So you say they should be sacked from the streets to minimize night human traffic. We want action, but not empty talks from our leaders. Simple as that. Togiga, thanks for your message. And this one from Otubua from Ada says, "Enforcement is the answer. Prisons, fines, and the like. Late arrivals to Accra are indisciplined and downright vulgar. It's nonsense to always want to give them a place. The markets are the place to sell, and all must not be allowed to sell anywhere else." That's from Otubua from Ada. And then I also have a couple of messages coming in response to the legal issues that we discuss. It says that for the sake of justice, the Supreme Court must consider a few witnesses as possible. This is in direct response to the interaction I just had with Victor Adawudu. This is from Abdul Rashid M. Izzuddin. He says, "For the sake of justice, the Supreme Court must consider a few witnesses as possible. Justice delayed is justice denied." And then Michael Harvim says, "Please ask the NDC legal rep what his expectation on this election court case is." And Ayuri Lord Listerwell Anam Zeme says, I think the NPP should let sleeping dogs lie and come together as one to move Ghana forward. Well, that's how we bring tonight's discussion to a close. Unfortunately, we were not able to get Kisia Jabin on the line to get some perspectives from him after Victor Adawudu has spoken. But I'm grateful for your time and for your messages, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to the AMA PRO who has already left us, PRO Numo Blafo and Kofi Kapito, CEO of the Consumer Protection Agency, for joining us. Join us again tomorrow for another engaging edition of PM Express. Good night.